Hey, yo, welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, as part of our Breeders Cup Handicapping series, today we're going to be looking at the Juvenile Turf. So let's get into it. So here's the Breeders' Cup Turf. It's running a mile on the grass, and obviously it's for 2-year-olds. And we'll note the turf course, it is pretty tight. So we do want to keep that in mind as we move forward. Number one is Air Recruit. And he's fairly intriguing to me. I can kind of go on the fence either way with him. You see that last race, the Laurel Futurity, he looked pretty good to me. Like there was definitely more in the tank. How much more to compete with this bunch remains to be seen. However, you are getting Luis Saez, and you do get 20-1. And I could see another move forward, him getting into the mix maybe underneath. But I don't think a win candidate is likely. You do see he has had some nice efforts against some of the horses in the turf sprint, namely No Name Mets, Shards, and to name them. And like I said, I think there's some quality here, but I do think he's going to have to step it up a little bit in order to be competitive here. There are others I like better, but I wouldn't talk anybody out who wants to use them on the bottom end of the exotics. Number two is River Tyber, and saw this horse run at Ascot. And one of the things that struck me is he looks like a horse who definitely wants more ground. So I think the mile should hit him right between the eyes. You see Aidan O'Brien, Michael Tabor, and he's got his A-rider, Ryan Moore, on him. They have thought highly of this horse for quite some time. So not surprising to see him stretching out. Wooten Bassett is really an up-and-coming sire. His get have been doing very well. And he is on the rise as one of the main stallions in Europe, so we want to keep that in mind. We look at this horse, and he's been running at 6 furlongs predominantly, and losing to Van Dijk last time. I'm not going to hold that against him. Van Dijk is a pretty awesome horse. You see he's started his career with 3 straight wins, and particularly in the Coventry Stakes, he was pretty highly regarded. You also will note that as the race rating is going higher, his class level is not going higher, but it's staying the same. So he's a top-level horse. I think he can certainly handle the 2 turns, and the firmer ground will be a little bit of a question. But at Ascot in June, it was firm turf, and he didn't have any problem with it. Probably not quite as firm as Santa Anita, but I think it's a good indication nonetheless. So I think River Tyber is a very logical horse to be thinking about in this race. Talkto I love. This one is granted. He needs to get faster, and his you see the race rating. He really hasn't run against much, and that Bourbon Stakes really didn't turn out to be very much of a race. But one thing I will say is he was the best horse that day. He ran into all kinds of traffic in the stretch, and it looked like there was plenty of horse left. And could he have broken free, then it might have been a different story. We might be thinking differently of him. He does have to take a step, probably a step and a half forward, I think. But Wertheim and Frere, that's a first-class outfit. Graham Motion knows what to do with a young horse stretching out. So I like Talkto. I don't think he can win this race, but I think underneath you're going to get a pretty good price with him. You should, and I think he's one that you have to consider using. Number 4 is Can Group, who won the aforementioned Bourbon Stakes coming from the clouds. And this is another one I think really needs to step up his game in order to be competitive here. The race rating and the class rating going forward, he is getting better, but he's not getting better enough, I feel, to be a factor in this race. He's coming from the clouds. I mean, who knows if there is some pace to run to, then perhaps that'll set up well for him. But I just have a feeling he's not going to be able to compete with the Europeans. 12-1, I need a better price than that in order to think about using him. But, if you want to use him underneath, I could see it. My boy Prince has shown something in Canada. In the Summer Stakes, I liked his effort. But he couldn't quite get the job done. Carsons Run got ahead of him. But he did show some good turn of foot. You see he won his next race in the Cup and Saucer. This is one that, on the front end, I mean, if he can try to slow it down, and maybe he's got a chance to wire this field, but he also is going to have to deal with Unquestionable on the front end, who I think is a better horse. Uh, I think there's a little more in the tank than perhaps we're seeing or we've seen in the last couple of races. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this one be a little more prominent. And I could see using him underneath, but I think it's going to be a tall order to win this race. Stay Hot is one I don't know too much about, but you do see that he's run on the track, broke his maiden at Santa Anita, and he is getting better. The last race was a step forward, moving to the turf. Peter Yurton is not a trainer to be underestimated, nor is Antonio Fresu, and you see they win at 31%. I think that that is a really nice effort as a maiden. He's clearly on the right track. This is one that, again, maybe you can think about for underneath. I would think it's a tall order to expect this one to win a Grade 1 stakes race against more seasoned horses. But 20-1 is a pretty good price, and again, I could see using underneath, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if this one factors in the money. Agot Road, trained by Todd Pletcher and Rod Ortiz for Poli Stable, A-list connections. But look at this one. He's another one that, in my opinion, is kind of underperforming for this race. The Pilgrim Stakes really didn't turn out to be terribly much, and he's won his maidens, but he hasn't done it impressively, and his improvement is marginal. So regardless of the connections, I'm not really that excited about this horse in this race, and I probably won't use. Unquestionable is one of the European imports, and you got Frankie Dettori aboard for Aidan O'Brien and another Wooten Bassett. And like I said, Wooten Bassett is definitely a sire on the come. You see this one hasn't gone a root of ground yet, but is progressing steadily as the races are getting tougher. He's getting better, and that's always what you want to see. He lost last time in the Grand Criterium, which we watched on our other postings, and you saw he lost to Rosalian, and Rosalian is a very well thought of 2-year-old, and didn't lose by much. And this one was on the engine for the majority of the race, and I'll likely expect he'll do the same here, and may have a good opportunity to wire the field. Do note that Ryan Moore has been his regular rider and has jumped off to go on River Tyber. I think that speaks more to River Tyber than it does Unquestionable, and certainly Frankie Dettori is a worthy substitute. So Unquestionable is one I think we want to think about. Of the Americans, Endlessly to me represents the best chance to factor in the race and in fact win it. I like the way this one's progressing. You see it getting better every single race as the race ratings improve, and that's exactly the progression that you want to see. I know it sounds like a broken record, but more often than not, that is where you find a winning horse. He is definitely improving. I think he's got the class with another step forward to factor in this race. You got J.J. Hernandez aboard, and Mike McCarthy's having a good meet at Santa Anita so far, and he's an underrated trainer. So this one is 3 for 3 at the distance. So it's down in distance, horse for the course. I think there's a lot of things to like about Endlessly. And of the Californians, he is one of the few that I think has a really legitimate chance to win. Ful Mano, number 10. He comes out of that Pilgrim race. And again, I just didn't think it was terribly much. And he's not really improving at the kind of rate that you would want to see a horse coming into the Breeders' Cup doing. And so he may take another step forward, but if it's the same as he has for the last 3 races, it's not going to be good enough. And for that reason, I really don't like anybody in the Pilgrim Stakes this year. I just don't think it was that good a race, so I'll pass. Liam's Journey was also part of the Pilgrim, and again, another one shown a little bit more speed-wise, I guess you could say. But again, he hasn't really run against too much, and I think he's outclassed just as the others in the Pilgrim Stakes are. So he's not one I mean, Mike Maker is good at stretching horses out, and perhaps this one can jump forward again. At 30-1, maybe you can put him underneath, but it'll be a suck-up third. I don't expect him to do much more than that, not against the Europeans that are here. This is Mountain Bear is one of Aidan O'Brien's, and I think it's more a testament to the quality of our American turf horses than it is the potential for Mountain Bear to do well that he's here. I think Aidan O'Brien just said, "Well, let me just send all of them, and maybe I can get a slice with one of my JVs." Because Mountain Bear is really, from what I've heard and what I've seen, I don't expect a whole lot out of this one. He's been noted as being a cut below, and you see the level of race that he's run at isn't as high as some of the other more prominent ones in this race. And I just 12-1. I think I need more like 20-1 if I'm going to consider him. So Mountain Bear won't be on my tickets. Grand Mo the First is one of the California horses, and he seems to be plateauing a bit. You see the races are getting better progressively, and his class rating is staying about the same. I like to see horses who are on a solid progression, not an incremental one. And I think this one is kind of plateaued. I don't think he's a bad horse, but in this race, Victor Barboza is 27%, second time on the grass, but I think there are others that appeal more. Carsons Run, of the American closers, I like probably the best. I did like that effort in the Summer Stakes last time. He had to go wide in the stretch, about 5 or 6, and had a nice turn of foot. And you see he is on a progression and another step forward, firing fresh. Then he's got a possibility to get into the money. I think he would need a significant leap forward to be competitive with the Europeans, but if anybody's going to get him there, it could be Christophe Clement. There's a really nice story with Carsons Run, much like Cody's Wish, and certainly he'll be a sentimental favorite. I think he can factor in the race. I'm a little... I don't know how much pace he's going to have to run to, and I don't know that he's quite good enough. But Carsons Run, I can see using for sure. 6-1 is a little short for me. I'd like a little bit more than that. So here's what you've got for the Juvenile Turf. Unquestionable, I think, is a prominent player here. He showed me some really nice turn of foot in the last race. Losing to Rosalian is certainly no sin. And he's definitely one of the more well-thought-of 2-year-olds. And he looks like stretching out isn't going to be a problem for him. So I think on the front end, he is going to get some pressure from my boy Prince and perhaps Grand Mo the First. But I have a feeling he's equal to it and has the potential to wire the field. Of the Americans, Endlessly, I think, has the best chance to win this race. Will be sitting about mid-pack, may get the jump on some of the later runners, and has a nice progression, and I think is a really solid horse for the Californians, and has a really good chance to win for them in a Breeders' Cup Juvenile race. River Tyber is one that's has shown a lot of class and looks to me like a horse who really wants to stretch out from his running style, and I don't think that's going to be a problem for him. He has the class, and he's been running at a lot higher levels than the American turf horses, so I think he is the one to beat in this race. From the Americans, really want prices because a lot of these I think are a tad overrated based upon what their class ratings are and what the class of the races they're running in have been. Talkto was shut off in the Pilgrim, was really unlucky, but looked like the best horse that day. And perhaps if he had gotten free, it might have been a different story. You're going to get 20-1. I think it's really likely that he outruns his odd, but he does need to improve significantly. Same can be said for Stay Hot. He had a very nice maiden win, first time on turf, but he will have to step it up moving into Grade 1 company off of that. But given the field and what we have in terms of horses, a lot of which are not progressing or maybe plateauing, Stay Hot can probably outrun his odds, and it'd be nice to get him in the try at like 30 or 40-1. Carsons Run, I think, is the best of the closers. I really like that Summer Stakes, and he is moving in the right direction. It's a great story, similar to that of Cody's Wish. So he is a sentimental favorite to be sure. And I think he has a really good chance to factor in this race. If, in fact, there is the pace is a little hotter than expected, that could work right into his hands. And If he can take another step forward, maybe he can take this one down. 6-1 wouldn't be a bad price to do so. So that's the juvenile turf. Looks like it's going to be dominated by the Europeans, but we were sort of suspecting that. Hopefully there'll be some decent prices amongst them for our betting purposes so we can line our pockets. We'll just have to see about that. I hope our analysis helps you, of course, with your own wagering strategy, and we'll wish you the best of luck. And we will have more postings for every single Breeders' Cup race, so stay tuned for that. And if you do like content like this, of course, please like and subscribe, and we do thank you for coming on board. That's it from here. I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.